Hello and welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to look at fractional exponents part 2. So I'm looking at my first example, 27 to the 2/3. How am I going to figure this out? Well, I know the 3 on the bottom, so really what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it into two parts. I'm going to think of it as 27 to the 1/3, and there's 2 of them, so I'm squaring it. You may recall there is a rule that says inner and outer exponents multiply together. So if you took 1/3 and you multiplied it by 2, you would get the exponent of 2/3. So I am correct to write it this way. Now, because I've written it this way, I can break it up quite easily. Because I can look at the stuff in the brackets and say, hey, isn't that just the cube root of 27? Yeah. And then I want to square that. So that means cube root of 27, that's just 3. And I'm going to square that 3. So my answer is 9. All right. Now, there might be somebody out there who says, hey, there's another way you could have broken it up. So I'm going to show you this other way, but it's not a very useful way. So I'm going to start off with the same thing, and I'm going to show you why this doesn't work well. Okay, I could break it up like this. 27 squared raised to the 1/3. Now, why isn't this a good way to do it? I mean, technically it's correct. If I multiply 2 times 1/3, I do get 2/3, the correct exponent. But the reason this isn't very friendly is 27 squared is a huge number. So you're going to have, like, in your bracket some huge big number. And you're raising that to the 1/3. Well, good luck trying to figure that out. That's quite a bit of work. Much easier if we do it the way I did it originally. So that typically is the way we want to do these. So let's do a couple more examples and have a look. My next example looks something like this. Take -1/8 and raise that to the 4/3. Let's see how we would do that. Well, I'm going to deal with the 3 on the bottom first, and that tells me it's a cube root. Okay, so cube root of -1/8. I'm going to figure out what that number is, and then I'm going to raise it to the 4th power, or to the 4. Now, the cube root of -1/8. Okay, raised to the 4. Well, the cube root of -1 is -1. And the cube root of 8 is 2. So what I'm now going to do is take -1/2 to the 4th. So that's -1/2 times -1/2 times -1/2 times -1/2, which becomes +1/16. And that's my answer. All right. Let's move on to our next example. And the next example will be our last example. So I've got 9/16. And we're going to raise that to the 3/2. Okay, so I'm going to use the bottom number first, which is really just saying I'm looking at 9/16 to the 1/2. And then ultimately I'm going to cube that, and that's because there's a 3 on top. Alright, well, anything to the 1/2, that means you're square rooting it. So we're looking for the square root of 9/16, and then we're going to take all that and cube it. Now the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 16 is 4. And then I got to take that and cube it. So on the top, I'm going to have 3 times 3 times 3, or 27. And on the bottom, I got 4 times 4 times 4, or 64. And there's my answer. No calculator required. Well, that's a good place to stop, so we will catch you later.